There is no denying that Prince Vince Williams's patience has now run out. The atmosphere has changed within royal walls, and not in a subtle way. Kensington insiders claim that William is no longer just dissatisfied with Prince Harry. He's finished, over it, and prepared to express it in a manner that no publicity stunt or unexpected reunion embrace can undo. This isn't a sibling connection that fades off gently. The royal gates are slamming, and everything accelerated after Harry's recent meeting with King Charles. You see, that encounter was not intended to take place. That's what many people believed anyhow. There were rumors that Harry and Meghan's camp was using it as merely another publicity gimmick. A leaked itinerary there, a word to the tabloids here. But then it took place. The King and the Duke of Sussex had a face-to-face meeting. Short, silent, private, yet genuine. That was sufficient to rekindle the fires that William had long suppressed. When Charles opened the door for Harry, both physically and symbolically, it reopened wounds that William had believed had been closed. It turns out that William wasn't even told in advance. Imagine learning that your father, who is presently facing illness, had a personal meeting with your arranged brother, the same brother who accused your wife of cruelty and labeled your whole family as racist. William's blood is said to be boiling, which makes sense. Furthermore, it goes beyond just not being informed. It has to do with loyalty, trust, and limits. Harry has gone too far once again. According to insiders, William is more committed than ever to preventing Harry from being given another opportunity. Not another gathering, not another well-planned stroll beside the royal family. Nothing. The current muttered sentence ends abruptly. No short-term truce. No public display with a quiet reunion. William is tactically and emotionally shutting down. He's finished acting as if a few sincere statements from Harry's public relations staff can resolve this. Nor is this an unexpected development. William's resentment isn't based on small-time drama. It has been developing for years. Years of explosive book chapters, leaked interviews, podcasts, and Netflix specials that were shown like reality TV, exposing every family wound. Any prospect of reconciliation was shattered by Spare alone. Harry portrayed William as a bully, an aggressive and resentful guy, in addition to a damaged sibling. William didn't believe Harry when he subsequently said it wasn't about retaliation. Not a single royal did. William reportedly got to the point where Harry was no longer even an issue. William would immediately silence anybody who spoke his name. Not shrugging, but clearly angry. It's said that at one point, the mere mention of Harry would make you leave the room. In a metaphorical sense, of course. He believed he had gone on and buried it. Harry's amazement, however, everything was brought back to the surface by drop-in for William. It's hazardous in addition to being painful. Due of the king's lack of combat fitness. He is receiving treatment for cancer. He is susceptible. William finds it almost inconceivable that Harry, a guy who has destroyed the royal brand for the last 5 years, could re-enter the fold. And he no longer watches in silence. He's prepared to stop it. Block is the key term. Prevent Harry from attempting to approach the monarch in the future, worm his way back into the inner circle, or charm his way past the gates by claiming that he is worried about his family. William takes everything as it is. And he's prepared to halt it before it begins this time. The harsh reality is that William no longer considers Harry to be family. Not by the majority's definition anyhow. He considers Harry as a burden who traded his familial connections for interviews and book deals. William only sees a guy who has burnt bridges and now want to walk back over the ashes without taking responsibility for the harm. Know of how many times Harry says he wants to be healed. 1 or 2 headlines aren't enough. It's the whole weight of treachery. William hears not only criticism, but also strategic maneuvers every time Harry talks. The public anguish, the veiled insults, and the poor me routine have all become stale. William's had to remain silent for the all, let's face it. Because of the royal oath of silence, he has never retaliated or offered an explanation. Don't get me wrong, however. He has been taking notes. He seemed to have concluded that enough is enough at this point. According to reports, William informed advisors before to the scenes that Harry would not be allowed to participate in any future royal events. No briefings, no invitations, and no fraternal reunions for the cameras. Not even the uncomfortable closeness we've seen at previous gatherings. It's complete freeze out this time. Harry will never again be inside 10 feet of a royal hallway if William gets his way. The motivation for all of this defense. Not only of King Charles, but of the image of the monarchy. For the time being, the monarch could be acting like a forgiving parent, grinning at public references and nodding during Harry's unexpected visits. William, however, is not buying the charade. He observes a weary and frail guy who is susceptible to manipulation by guilt and nostalgia. William also has no intention of allowing his father to be exploited in that manner. Never ever. Never ever. William sees Harry's homecoming efforts as strategic rather than heartfelt, according to those close to him. A gradual effort to re-establish his regal standing. To be honest, the idea has a lot of supporting data. After all, Harry's appearance during the king's medical emergency presents him as the empathetic, mistreated son who just wants to make amends. It's ingenious. William, however, is more knowledgeable. The pattern is too familiar to him. Furthermore, it goes beyond William and Charles. Additionally, Catherine has been caught in the crossfire. Remember, she was pulled into this situation more than once. She was the target of subtle and not-so-subtle jabs from Harry's book to the Oprah appearance. William has also remembered that. In fact, some insiders think he went beyond because he was too protective of his wife. Attacking the system is one thing. Targeting someone who never agreed to participate in the spotlight battle is another matter. The underlying problem is that William no longer has faith in Harry. Not in private chats, not with family, and not with the media. Perhaps there used to be room for mending. However, when private moments began to appear as Netflix material, that window closed. When private suffering turned into podcast content and words became headlines, you don't recover. In interviews, Harry may be using the "my conscience is clear" tactic, but William isn't buying it. He is more knowledgeable. He is aware of how the game works. Make a provocative statement, watch for criticism, and then pretend to be the victim. Williams has often seen this loop, and he is now intervening to end it. The royal gloves are off. There's not PR bandage large enough to cover the severe incision. William does not see this as a matter of retaliation. The goal is to draw a boundary that Harry will never be able to cross again. William's position is strategic rather than just sentimental. No one knows the stakes as well as he does. The prestige of the monarchy is based on its dignity, moderation, and unity. All three were broken by Harry. Accountability is necessary if the company is to stay successful, even if it means setting boundaries with family. William is not behaving impulsively. Acting like a future monarch, he understands that duty comes before emotion, and that part of that obligation is to protect King Charles from needless anxiety. There is a footnote on the king's health. It is at the heart of everything. He is balancing his rehabilitation and his obligations while undergoing cancer treatment. And mental turmoil is the last thing he needs. Harry delivers precisely that. Not healing, not closure, just headlines, drama, and the perpetual danger of being caught off guard by another tell-all. William is handling it as if it were a danger. For their part, the palace is being cautious. Although nobody wants to start a full-scale conflict between the brothers, everyone is aware of the changing balance of power. William's impact is expanding. William is the future, and he is assuming the role of king with force, even if Charles is now the one in that position. Gorders and insiders are starting to modify their allegiance in line with this. William's voice is becoming more and more important in the room. Harry's side, meanwhile, continues to promote the notion that he is prepared to forgive and move on, that he wants peace. However, a surprise encounter and a grin for the cameras are hardly the first steps toward peace. The first step is responsibility, which Harry has deftly sidestepped. He is the victim in his version of events. Once misunderstood and abused, he has now magically changed. But it is insufficient for William. Words are meaningless if they remain unchanged, particularly in light of all that has already occurred. Additionally, public opinion is divided. Family should always come first, according to many who think Harry deserves a second shot. However, many others are supporting William. They have seen the harm unfold in real time. They have seen the carefully disguised jabs, the smirks during interviews, and the Netflix special that was presented as fact, but was really filled with animosity. People don't forget easily, yet they do remember. That is shown by William's growing popularity. He is seen by the public as faithful, stable, and measured, the antithesis of the disorder that Harry has come to symbolize. And let's take a moment to discuss Meghan. Even though she hasn't spoken much in this most recent chapter, her presence is still quite noticeable. For example, neither has William forgiven her. Not for the hints, not for supporting Harry's disobedience, nor for the Oprah interview. Harry is not the only one who is unwanted. The whole Sussex brand is involved, flashy, rebellious, and theatrical, everything William wants to distance himself from the center of the monarchy. William's staff is already tightening the screws behind closed doors. This entails controlling access, limiting communications, and ensuring that unexpected visits or chance meetings at royal residences are completely eliminated. It is no longer personal. It's customary. Harry will also no longer be given the benefit of the doubt. Royal exclusions or hazy boundaries are not acceptable. When Harry turned to go, he made his decision. Williams is currently making his "the door has been bolted, secured, and closed." It's out of need, not hatred. Loyalty must have a purpose. Silence also does. Additionally, there is a limit to how far you can go in a tradition-based family until you are no longer welcome. William isn't waiting for redemption stories or excuses. He is preoccupied with his duty, his father, his wife, and the crown's destiny. And if it means Harry will never be included again, then so be it.